Hi guys, we're going to be going through a couple examples of graphing lines in this video. To get started, we're going to write our names. And up at the top, in order to graph lines, I want to just remind you of a couple things. So at the top of your page, I want you to write y equals mx plus b. This form is called slope-intercept form. What does the m in this equation represent? Great, you should have written slope. So whatever number is in front of your x is the slope of your line. What does b represent? Fantastic, the y-intercept. So that value tells you where your graph crosses the x-axis. That line tells you where your graph crosses the y-axis, so where it's going to hit this vertical axis. So you want to reference this with every single equation that we're looking at today. You want to get it into that form first so that you can find your slope and your y-intercept. Let's look at equation number 1. So my equation is negative x plus 3 is equal to y. So if I compare that with my slope-intercept form, my y is definitely by itself, but it's on the other side of the equal sign than what it is over here. When your equation looks like this, you can actually just switch it around so that you've got the equation y equals, so you put your y on the other side, and then you're just going to move this negative x plus 3 to the other side as well. So I'll have negative x plus 3 over on this side. Before we move on to graph that line, what would these two equations look like in slope-intercept form? Fantastic. All you're doing is switching around your terms. All of the numbers and all of the signs, so pluses and minuses and negatives, are all going to stay the same. You're just switching around the order of your equation. Okay, let's go back to that first one. So to graph this first equation, I've got y equals negative x plus 3. I want to find what my slope is and what my b value is. So if I look and see what number matches up with b, 3 matches up perfectly with 3. If I look in front of x, well, this is kind of weird. There's no number, just a negative sign. When that happens, when there's no number in front of x, you can always add an invisible 1. So in front of x, there's a negative 1, and you can put that over 1 so that you can see the slope or the rise and the run of your line. So to graph this, I'm going to start off with my b value. Since it's a positive 3, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and plot a point at a positive 3. And then from there, because my slope is negative, get my slope card just to remind myself of what those signs mean. So if my slope is negative, I'm either going to be moving up 1 and to the left 1, or I'm going to be moving down 1 and to the right 1. So let's go up and left first. So I'm going to go up 1 since my rise is 1, and to the left 1. Or from that point I could go down 1 and to the right 1. So that my line looks like this in the end. Okay? On your own, you can use my slope card. I want you to graph this line y equals negative x minus 5. And you're going to compare your answer, or your graph, with the graphs up on Edpuzzle. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. So I've got 5y equals negative 8x plus 20. Again, I want to get this equation to be in y equals mx plus b form. So looking at that equation, I'm going to just rewrite it down here so that I've got some space to work with. 5y equals negative 8x plus 20. I want to get my y value by itself, so I'm going to go ahead and circle that y. I'm also going to draw a wall through my equal sign since I've got an equation. Next to my y, I have a 5. What operation is in between 5 and y? Great, multiplication. So to get rid of multiplication, I have to divide by 5. When I do that over here, I've got to do the same thing over on this side. I have to divide by 5, but I'm going to do that in a special way where I divide every single term by 5. So when I do that, my 5s are going to cancel out. On this side, I'm just left with y equals. Over on this side, I'm going to take my coefficient, 2x, the number in front of x, so -8, and divide it by 5 so that I've got a fraction out in front, and then I'll write my x. Plus 20 divided by 5, well, that's going to leave me with 4. So now if I check if my equation is in slope-intercept form, my check is that I want to make sure that y is by itself, that there's nothing else on that side of my equal sign. And now there's nothing else there, so my equation is now in slope-intercept form. What is the slope of my line? Perfect, so I'm looking for the number in front of x, which is a -8 divided by 5. What is my y-intercept, my b value? Perfect, that value is 4. So now, as I go to graph this line, I'm going to start off with my y-intercept. Since it's a positive 4, I'm going to go up 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now that I've got that point set up, I have a negative slope, -8/5. So I'm either moving up 8 and left 5, or down 8 and right 5. Which of these movements is going to fit on my graph? Can I go up 8 and left 5 and still end up on my coordinate plane? Or do I need to go down 8 and right 5? Which makes more sense to do? Perfect. So I should be going down 8 and right 5 so that I stay on my coordinate plane. So I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm going to count to the right 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that I end up at this point over here. Those are the only 2 points that are going to fit on my coordinate plane. So I'm going to just connect them in a line. Okay, go ahead looking at this equation. So you've got 4y is equal to -7x plus 16. Is this equation in y equals mx plus b form? No, I've got this 4 in front of my y, so I'm going to copy this equation down here for more space. I have 4y is equal to -7x plus 16. And I'm going to start by drawing the wall and circling the y. How am I going to get y by itself? Okay, so 4 is being multiplied with y, so I have to divide by 4. Go ahead and divide every single term by 4. What is your slope-intercept form equation going to be? Okay, when you divide by 4, you're going to get your y by itself, leaving you with -7/4x plus 4. Go ahead and graph that line. So start off with, what is your slope? What is your b value? And then you're going to graph that line, comparing it with the graphs on Edpuzzle. Let's move on to numbers 5 and 6. So at the top of my page, I've rewritten slope-intercept form. Make sure that you have that as well. For number 5, I'm going to start off by asking myself, is y by itself on one side of my equals sign? And while y isn't being multiplied with any numbers, it does have this plus 4 on this side of my equal sign. So it is not in slope-intercept form just yet. So I'm going to copy that equation down where I have some extra space. Y plus 4 is equal to negative x. And I'm going to draw a wall and circle my y. Okay. So on the same side of my y is this plus 4. How do I get rid of the plus 4? What do I need to do to both sides? So since 4 is being added, to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So over on this side, my 4's cancel out. I'm just going to be left with y equals. Over on this side, can I combine negative x minus 4, where there's a minus in between? No, because x and 4 are not like terms. So instead of combining them, I'm going to copy them down exactly like they are, with all of their same signs. So negative x, and then minus 4. And that will be the equation that I'm dealing with now that y is by itself. My equation is in slope-intercept form. So take a moment, what's the slope? What's the y-intercept to this line? And go ahead and graph it. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at number 6. So with number 6, here's my y. Is it by itself? Nope, so therefore my equation's not in slope-intercept form. I'm going to copy it down here. Negative 2 is equal to 2x plus y. So I'm going to circle my y and draw my line. What is on the same side as y? Great, my 2x is in between, is on the same side as y. And so to get rid of that 2x, if I've got a plus sign in between, to make this equal to 0, I need to subtract 2x from both sides. So when I do that, my 2x's are going to cancel out. They're going to equal 0. And that way, I'm just left with y on this side. Over here, what will I be left with? Can I combine these two terms? I can't combine it, so I do the same thing I did over here. I'm just going to copy them down, just like they are, with their same signs. So I've got negative 2x minus 2. Okay, so now my y is by itself. If I want to get this into y equals mx plus b form, so I want to have it in this order, all I have to do is just switch around my sides, keeping everything exactly the same. So that can become y equals, and I'm going to keep the other side just as it is, negative 2x minus 2. Okay, take a moment to yourself. What's the slope of this line? What's the b value? And you're going to graph this line on your coordinate plane. Okay, last set to go over, and then you'll be practicing on your own. So I've got negative 2x is equal to 6 plus 2y. Here's my y. It is not by itself, so I'm going to have to copy it down below, or copy this whole equation down below. I have negative 2x is equal to 6 plus 2y. And I'm going to draw my wall. and circle my y. So in the end, I want to get this into y equals mx plus b form. What is on the same side, or what do you see on the same side as y? So there's the 6, and there's a 2 over here. I want to look for the term that is being added or subtracted with y. Which number is being added or subtracted to y? Great. The 6 has a plus sign in between the 6 and the y. So I want to get rid of this 6 first. To get 6 equal to 0, since it is positive, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. Okay, when I do that, over on this side, my 6's cancel out, so that I'm left with this 2y. And I'm going to just circle my y so that I can see if it's by itself yet. On the other side, can these two terms combine? No. So I'm going to just copy them down exactly like they are. Negative 2x minus 6. Okay, now looking at my y, is my y by itself? Nope, I've got that 2 still in front. How do I get rid of the 2? Okay, 2 is being multiplied with y, so the inverse, or the opposite of multiplication, is division. I'm going to divide this side by 2. So remember, I'm going to divide every single term on the other side also by 2. So over on this side, my 2's cancel out. I'm left with y. Over here, let's just keep dividing. 6 divided by 2 will leave me with a 3, and I'll keep the sign that's in front. Negative 2 divided by 2. Well, those 2's can cancel out as well, but the negative does not cancel out. So I'm left with a negative x, or I could also put a 1 in front of that x. So negative 1x. What is the slope of that line? What is the y-intercept? Go ahead and graph it. Okay, last one over here we're going to go over. I've got 6 plus 2y is equal to negative 4x. Since the y is not by itself, I'm going to copy that equation down below. 6 plus 2y equals negative 4x. I'm going to draw my wall, and I'm going to circle my y value. Okay. What number is being added or subtracted with my y value? Great. There's a plus sign next to the 6, so it is being added to my 2y. How do I get rid of this 6 and make it equal to 0? We're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So when I do that, over on this side, my 6's are going to cancel out, so that I'm left with just this 2y is equal to, and I'm going to circle my y value. On this side, since these two terms are not like terms, I'm going to copy them exactly as they are. Negative 4x minus 6. Okay, last step. My y is not by itself yet. It's got this 2. How do I get rid of it? Since 2 is being multiplied, I'm going to divide by 2 to every single term. So that in the end, this 2 is going to cancel out. I'm left with y equals. So now my y is by itself. and I'm going to simplify. I can leave this as a fraction if I want, or I can divide, so I could leave it as negative 4 over 2x, or I could divide 2 into 4, leaving me with negative 2x minus, and then 6 divided by 2 will leave me with 3. So you could have two potential answers to this. You could have y equals negative 2x minus 3, or y equals negative 4 divided by 2x minus 3. Both of these lines will look exactly the same when you graph them. So go ahead and find your slope, find your y-intercept, and graph either one of these equations. On the next couple pages, you've got a bunch of graphs to practice with, to practice graphing your equations. Some of them are in slope-intercept form already, some of them aren't. So before you graph, you always want to double check, is your equation in y equals mx plus b form? You may listen to music while you solve these problems or while you graph these equations. However, you may not talk with the people around you. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and I will come over to help you graph or to help you solve. Okay.